Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand, you and me. Doesn't matter, it is Christmas in my heart.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to day 6 of the 12 days of giveaways. Let me get myself situated here. Let me see. I generally have, oh, here it is. I couldn't find it. Yeah. So we are in day 6 of the 12 days of giveaways. And if you're not on the email list to receive the daily freebies, I've given away 6 things so far to help with teaching the most difficult concepts that students have. And if you are interested in joining the 12 days of giveaway, we are halfway because today is day 6, and you can still join and get the freebies. If you're on YouTube, you can look in the description of the channel. I can go ahead and drop that link in the comment section for those who are watching live, or if you're watching on the replay. Let me see. Join the 12 days of giveaway here. Or if you know someone that is interested in the 12 days of joining the 12 days of giveaway, please share that link with them. So today we are on decimals, and I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail with decimals today because decimals lend itself to place value. I will talk about place value in relation to decimals, and one of the issues with decimals are students get decimals and fractions confused. I mean, decimals and place value confused. That is one of the reasons why I am not a huge fan of base 10 blocks, because base 10 blocks are used for place value from first, second, and third grade. And once you get into fourth grade, all of a sudden you want the students to make this jump from base 10 blocks and say, oh, now we're talking about a 10th. And the whole has changed, and everything is supposed to be miraculously correct. And that's the furthest from the truth. It doesn't happen like that. Most students do not make the jump from the base 10 blocks to decimals. So here is, let me pull it up. Move it up. Today's freebie. And I'm going to go over and talk about this. And why I believe that introducing decimals is really to introduce them into money relationships up to 100. Everything after that is smaller, and then you can use science to cement that understanding of decimals and how small it is, and moving to the right of the whole number one into decimals, where you are talking about a part of a whole, but the whole is always a multiple of 10, 100, 1000, those types of things, which go back to multiplication. It's all connected. That's why when you have students that are struggling with multiplication, they are struggling with multiple concepts because it all comes in and ties together at some point in time in that vertical alignment strand. So in this was today's freebie. I give this lesson plan, and I probably need to do an update of some of my lesson plans. I wrote this years ago. It's still relevant. Um, has some cards and some games in here. Then it has money, has your place value chart. This one is, let me see if I can rotate this. I can't get it to rotate. Maybe because it's too, oh, there it is. This is important. And in my creative mind, I put in here 100 pennies or one whole, um, 1 penny or 1/100th of a dollar, or 1/10th of a dollar, or 10 pennies. And you can connect with that, but the dimes are very self explanatory. A dime is 1/10, but I use pennies to stay consistent with it. So in here you have pennies, and then you also have 10 pennies to represent 1/10. So yeah, this was kind of fun. And then you have your dollar bills. And let me see if I can rotate this. You have similarities and differences, and that was the end of the product. But yeah, this was really good. And even one of my students that I hadn't even taught decimals to, I actually was asking them, because that NWEA test, which I loathe, it's a norm reference test, and I don't even see why we give it, because it's not even tied to a curriculum, but I'm not going to get on that soapbox. But I could tell her that what a decimal was based on a penny, and on money, and she understood it without any instruction, because decimals lead itself to money, prices, and all of those things. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So that's second. All right. So I gave this out on day one. So I told you all in day one, and if you haven't watched day one, I talked about having the arrows at the bottom, and it supported students in their number sense understanding. And decimals is one of those concepts that, having these arrows, if you introduce it early enough, by the time they get to decimals, they'll understand that when we're moving to the right through subtraction, when we regroup to the right through subtraction, they'll understand that as we move and then you introduce um the tenths, hundreds, and thousands place, they'll understand based on this understanding of subtraction moving to the right to make it smaller, and understanding that your place value to the right is smaller or 10 times smaller than the place value to the left. So this is what third grade teachers need to put in place. And I'm not saying teach it, I'm saying support it. Because one, it is hard to get students to understand that there are other place values to the right of this ones. One of the things that I do not tell students is there are not any numbers on the other side of zero. In my third grade class, we talk about negative numbers. But what I do tell them is that we don't do negative numbers in third grade. Negative numbers are easy. Like you have negative in your bank account. You're talking about negative numbers. If you go below sea level, they deal with these concepts all the time as students. So it's not something that you should hide from your students. It's just that you don't teach them in that grade level. Can you expose them to them? Absolutely. It's not a big deal. But with decimals, that's the first understanding, that moving to the right of the whole number are decimals. Now, I'm going to take this off. There has to be some differentiation between decimals and whole numbers. And if you do not make the distinction between decimals and whole numbers, you will end up losing your students. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can make this distinction, and I like double bubble maps. So double bubble maps are these. And I don't know if mine is going to come out correctly. Oh, and there's one here, and then there's one here. And that looks horrible. Let me draw it again. Woo. Here's your similarities. I forgot this one in the middle. So you would have your two concepts here. And normally it depends on how many I put. So it connects like that. And these are your differences. Differences. And for younger kids, I put alike. So you could put whole numbers and you can put decimals. This is the first step in cementing the student's understanding. And you're probably saying, well, why are you using this in math? Math has literacy. It has vocabulary. It has its own language. And understanding that whole numbers are not decimals and decimals are not whole numbers is the first step. And they use this in ELA. You can use a Venn diagram. I'm not a fan of Venn diagrams, especially for math, because I like to be specific. So whole numbers you could put on the place value chart, ones, tens, and hundreds. On for decimals, place value chart, tenths, hundreds, thousands. Ends in th. Has a point, no point. So pointing out those clear differences and the things that are the same, they are on the place value chart. They're similar in the fact that they both include one, but it's not a whole number. And this is where you find that you can use base 10 blocks if you're using base 10 blocks for both. Those are similarities and whatever you want to put on here. But this should be the first step in your tier 1 instruction. If your students, if you're doing intervention, you're an interventionist, and your students are struggling with decimals, and especially 5th grade students, if they've already been introduced to decimals, you can do this to clear up a lot of misconceptions. You can glue or tape any type of manipulative on here for your emerging bilingual students so that they can understand what you're talking about. So it's a lot of things that you can do with this comparison and contrast for your students to get them to understand the differences between whole numbers and decimals. Also, if you're going to use manipulatives, you're going to have to set apart this base 10 block. So if you're going to use that, that needs to be a conversation of how this is no longer 100, but this is out of 100. So, and there's same thing, 10 tens, 10 or 1,000, 10 tenths. The thousands is this. Let me see if I can make this. No. So you have to explain that to the students before, especially if you're trying to clear a misconception. But I'm going to go ahead, let me grab my money. I don't know, it's hot in here today. So let me go back to this conversion. So it says $1 is 100 pennies or one whole. So if you're trying to clear up these misconceptions, you can bring out, and this is fake money. It looks, got this a long time ago. It's $1 or one whole. So when you're talking about decimals and you have some students that have already been introduced to money, you can say, okay, I have $1. And you pull out your pennies. And if you want to connect it to base 10 blocks, You can tell them that, and really not even tell them, show them that this is how 1 penny is written. And then there can be a conversation about how many pennies does it take to make $1? And that's a conversation that it should be a rich conversation, because the students, if they're in 5th grade or even 4th grade, they should know if I have 100 pennies, I have $1. And you can have them break down those 100 pennies into equal groups of 10. And once they do that, you can have them line it up. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And here's 10. That is actually a tenth, okay? Because each one of these represents a 1/10 in your base 10 system. And it's that 1 cube in your base 10 blocks. I don't know why I don't have not one base 10 block at home. Not one. I don't know where they are. So this is your 10, and it represents 1/10. Also, you can get them to understand that this is also a dime, which is a tenth in, if you're trying to connect it to money. It is a long because you converted it to 10 of them. And that can help them make the jump from the base 10 system of the rods and the flats. This is a flat, this is a rod, this is 1 cube. And that's how you get those students to understand the foundation. Once they understand the difference, what I have found is that the students make the jump very, very well. They do. And you don't have to go back, because you have basically what I said in day 1 and day 2, connecting the known to the new. They know this, but those base 10 blocks, I'm telling you, if you start out with that, the students are going to struggle. And if you keep trying to beat that dead horse in intervention, it's going to be something that you are going to regret. You're going to have to abandon it, because what you're doing is reinforcing what they don't know. Try this method and then connect it to what they don't understand, because this will serve as an anchor. So you make this your flat, your cube, and your rod. And I promise you, it will go a lot smoother. I've tried this. I didn't come up with this on my own because the kids were getting it. I came up with it as an alternative and an anchor for my students who are struggling. So hopefully this was helpful. If you want access to this free product, you must be on the email list. I dropped the link for the 12 days of giveaway here. And if you're still interested in joining, you have 5 more days. I'll be uploading or scheduling the 5 last days of the 12 days of giveaway. I have enjoyed this because I get to talk about all the things that I like to do and close gaps and give you all strategies that I know that will work for your students. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow for the 7th day of the 12 days of giveaway. Bye-bye.